Hello and welcome to the Spiritual Baddie podcast. I'm your host, Sanela Estrella. This is something that I have been wanting to do forever. This is going to be a new segment on my YouTube channel, but it will also be available to listen to in podcast form on Spotify. Some of the episodes will only be available on Spotify due to the nature of some of these topics that I'm not allowed to talk about on any platform except for Spotify. So finally, all of the things that I have not been able to do on TikTok and YouTube, tried to do on YouTube and got censored for, are finally coming. We can finally talk about them. There is so much that I want to talk about. This is years in the making, but I have been working on this for months now, so I'm really excited that it's finally all come together and I have a place where I can talk to like-minded individuals. I'm not even gonna lie, we are gonna be getting into the conspiracy stuff, but this is a podcast for the girls. With where I'm at right now in my journey and my life, I really just want to empower women by explaining how to embody the divine feminine, teach them how to manifest and attract, date yourself, date intentionally, date spiritually, how to use your astrology and spirituality to navigate life and just overall improve your quality of life, how to live holistically, how to exist as a spiritual being in this very 3D world, navigating the matrix, and just good old big sister advice. So what is a spiritual baddie? First of all, if you are watching this, you are a spiritual baddie. Well, you're probably a spiritual baddie. If not, you might be somebody that I know in real life that's just creeping on me, being a fan. I don't blame you. I'd want to see what I'm up to also. I really don't know when I started calling myself spiritual baddie. It's been a while and I really don't know where I came up with this term, but it just resonated so deeply with me because I'm very spiritual. I'm also a baddie. Bad bitches can be spiritual too. But I wrote it all out for you. I made a list of what a spiritual baddie is composed of. Okay, I got you, bitch. What is a spiritual baddie? She is someone who is self-aware and on their spiritual journey, but also embraces their femininity and loves girly things, luxury, and has firm boundaries. She operates from a heart space, but she is not love and light delusional and knows when it's time to lay down the law because spiritual baddies have boundaries. She is someone that knows that spirituality is something that happens internally within one's consciousness and does not need to make a public display of how magical she is on the outside if that is not her style. She is somebody who is actively working on herself to become the highest version of herself. She understands that manifestation is a magical and spiritual process, and if she chooses to manifest a life of luxury, that doesn't make her any less spiritual than somebody who wants to manifest a quiet life of homesteading and wearing linen skirts and frolicking through the forest. She is someone who understands that our big dreams and desires that we've had since we were children were not just made up, they were given to us, and we wouldn't want them so bad if we weren't meant to go after them. She knows that we live in an infinite, abundant universe. We will never run out of abundance. So if she wants to manifest a Lamborghini, a lot of money, a mansion, designer bags, whatever the case may be, that doesn't make her any less spiritual. Basically, what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that there is duality in everything. I have had people come to me and tell me that I'm not spiritual because I wear makeup, I get cosmetic procedures, I like to look good, and like some people may think that I'm vain, but I call it self-love. I think that there is no higher form of self-love than to take care of yourself, and when you look good, you feel good. And I'm gonna be a lot nicer to everyone if I am feeling good about myself. Also, anybody that tells you that you're not spiritual because X, Y, and Z, that is a judgment. And it's so ironic because the least spiritual thing that you could do is judge another person or think that you are above them and they are inferior to you because you are so woo-woo spiritual. That's not very love and light of you. I used to think that I had to look a certain way for people to take me seriously within the spiritual community. I had my first spiritual awakening in 2015. Back then, spirituality wasn't super mainstream like it is now. We didn't have TikTok yet. We barely used Instagram. And there was just not really a lot of people that I could talk to about my spiritual journey or what was happening within me. But in 2020, I finally downloaded TikTok just as the rest of us did during the pandemic. And as the algorithm got to to know me, I saw that there was actually people talking about manifestation and astrology and spirituality. And I'm like, oh my God, I know so much about this. I haven't been able to talk to anybody about this. So I was just really excited to finally get into that. And if you watch my older videos, I actually put myself together in the same way that I do now. But as my spiritual journey became so public, I started to receive a little bit of criticism about the way that I looked. You know, that I wore makeup or got filler or got my lashes done or have my eyebrows tattooed or just, you know, whatever the case may be, or that I use makeup because those products aren't natural, and how can you say that you're this when you're also this, and blah, 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 blah. Duality exists. Liking chocolate doesn't mean that you hate vanilla. Just because you like to go outside doesn't mean you hate being inside. Just because you prefer blondes doesn't mean that you think brunettes are ugly. I don't know what it is about humans where we have to see things as one way or another. You can be more than one thing. You can be a million different things. I did actually start to change the way that I dressed and how I did my makeup, and definitely the pandemic did have an effect on that as well. You know, all of us were staying home. I think everybody started opting for more of a natural look. I genuinely didn't think that people were going to take me seriously talking about the things that I was talking about if I looked the way that I did for a while. Wearing linen skirts and frolicking barefoot through the forest does not make you spiritual. You might look spiritual, you might look like a hippie. What is on the outside has nothing to do with what is happening in your consciousness internally. This is just a vessel. At the end of the day, you're gonna close your eyes. What you're seeing is what you're seeing. Your spirituality happens completely within yourself, within your energy. None of this has anything to do with it. And there are people that look like they might be very spiritual. They have all these tattoos and, you know, they dress with only organic materials and they never wear shoes and they don't wear any makeup and they don't really brush their hair. And inside, they're not that. I have met plenty of people that dress and look the part, but when you talk to them, they open their mouth.
Oh my God, bro. Oh,
yikes. You are not practicing what you preach at all. Like, for some people, it really is an aesthetic, and it's not really my style anymore. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. It's just not my personal preference. I've always been a girly girl since I was very, very little. I was stealing my mom's makeup and high heels and walking all around the house like that. When I couldn't get my hands on her makeup, I would literally scrub crayons on my face to make blush and eyeshadow and lipstick. I've just always been into these things. When I was in the 3rd grade, we had to draw a picture of what kind of car we were going to drive when we were older, and I drew a pink G-Wagon and the license plate said Sanela. How does a 9-year-old know what a G-Wagon is, and why would a 9-year-old want something like that? These things are placed into us, I think, honestly, maybe even at birth, and obviously societal conditioning has something to do with it, but I really don't think that there's anything wrong with wanting to feel good about yourself, having your own sense of style, and maybe it not being conventionally the way that you are talking about things or your spirituality, you know? Like, there's people that dress like, I guess, kind of hood and like very like urban and street, but they're like very religious Christians. Like, you just never really know like where the correlation is, and there doesn't need to be a correlation whatsoever. So this is something that actually bothered me for a little bit, and when I sat with ayahuasca for 3 days, this was something that I brought up to her because I really wanted answers to this. So when I got to my retreat, there was like 60 or 70 people there. I was the youngest person there. I was 24 when I went, and I also noticed that I was like really the only person that like looked and dressed the way that I did, you know, like glam, hair done, lashes done, fake nails, like all of it. Besides for my mom, I was there with my mom, and that's a whole nother story. But I started to get worried that I was gonna have to give up this part of myself that like I really, really always enjoyed. Like, I've just always loved being like a very feminine and girly and just into all of the stereotypical like girly things. I'm not gonna be ever saying I'm not like other girls. Like, yes, I am. The more social media that we get, I see that we are all exactly the same. We are. So I asked Mother Aya, I'm like, is this okay that I'm doing these things? You know, like, I know it's not like loving myself exactly the way that I am if I'm doing these things, but like, I really like them. And what she told me, like, totally just, like, flipped a switch for me. Because I said, like, I know I'm not loving myself as I am if I'm doing these things and changing these things about myself. But she said, but you are loving yourself as you are. You are allowed to love the part of yourself that enjoys these things. And as long as it is not your only source of happiness, there is nothing wrong with it. But you genuinely finding joy in these things and loving to do them, that is a part of you. You are allowed to love the part of yourself that enjoys doing those things. And I was like, I literally couldn't believe it. It was so simple, but I was like,
the woman was too stunned to speak.
At a loss for words, speechless. So yeah, she told me that I shouldn't judge myself for liking these things. And as long as I can accept myself through every version of myself and every variation and love myself with or without these things, I'm good. She also mentioned, like, to look around in nature. Like, there's so many, like, bold colors and patterns and prints on animals and plants. And we are a part of nature, and we oftentimes forget that that is a thing. There's nothing wrong with wanting to decorate your body. It's like the same thing. Like, your body is the home for your soul, but it's just the same as my body is in my physical home, my shelter. And, you know, we decorate our homes. You put a rug down, you get some knickknacks, you get a pink lamp that's shaped like a mushroom. All of these things are personal to us, and we make it a space that we enjoy being in. And I want to enjoy being in my body. So I want to look a certain way because it makes me feel good. I want to enjoy being in here. And that is no different than decorating your house or painting the walls, you know? So it took me a long time to realize that. And where I'm at right now, anybody can say whatever they want. I really don't care what anybody thinks of me. Me looking this way does not make me any less spiritual than the next person. I know deep down inside what is going on within my consciousness. I know that I choose to be kind every day. I know what I'm brewing up in my witch's pot. Like, I love all of these things, but you will also catch me on mushrooms in the forest, hugging a tree, barefoot, frolicking through the forest. You'll see me living holistically and reading ingredients and looking at my products and making my own products, gardening in the summer, growing my own fruits and vegetables, dancing to awaken my kundalini energy. But you will also see me getting ready every day, doing my hair, makeup, nails, lashes, all of it. I will not make myself look a certain way that more coincide with the lifestyle that I live to prove anything. And that is what took me a while to realize, is that I have nothing to prove to anyone, and neither do you. You have nothing to prove to anyone. If somebody doesn't want to believe who you are at the core, if they don't see beyond this and see what's in here, they can't feel your energy, they don't, just buy. You have nothing to prove to anyone. And for so long, I wanted to so badly display my spirituality on the outside in the way that I was dressing, in my tattoos. And I'm actually now in the process of getting my tattoos removed because it's just not in alignment with the way that I want to look like. But I so badly wanted to put that all on display. So immediately when a stranger would see me, they would just know, oh, that girl's probably spiritual. But genuinely now, I don't care. If there's anybody that doesn't want to see me for who I am at the core, again, goodbye. Thank you very much. I don't need you. I'm just at a place in my life right now where I'm so accepting of who I am. I have never loved myself more in my life. I know who I am. I know the response that I get from people every day that I interact with in my life. People tell me that I'm kind, that they feel safe around me, that I'm very loving. And at the end of the day, that is the most important thing to me. If somebody wants to judge me based off of the way that I dress or the way that I look or the things that I'm into, that's totally fine. That's on them. They still have more work to do, and that is okay. I am not above them. We are just not in the same place. At the end of the day, I love myself. I love the way that I look. I don't want to change for anybody, and I wish I realized this sooner. So if this is something that you're going through, know that you're not alone in this process. It is okay to like more than one thing or to be a certain way and to think a different way. I think this is becoming less and less of an issue now that that spirituality has become so mainstream and everybody's really coming to some sort of realization that everything is energetic. We live in an energetic universe, and it's so crazy because when I used to talk to people about the law of attraction, like they had never heard of it before, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, never heard of it. And I had to go into this long tangent about explaining it, but every single person knows what it is now. And it makes me so happy because at the beginning of my spiritual journey, I felt so alone in this process that when I would try to talk to my friends about like what's happening, like, oh, I'm having visions, oh, I attracted this, like I'm learning about quantum physics and all of this, like they're like, okay, Sanela, like, okay, like you sound crazy. So I'm really happy that it is becoming more mainstream. And I noticed in 2020 when spiritual TikTok started getting a lot more hype and witch talk and all of that, that there was a lot of people that were triggered by this. Like, I liked this first, like you made fun of me before for this. And like, yeah, girl, I've been there. Trust me. Like, it feels like shit having to do it all alone. At the same time, like my mom had her spiritual awakening a year before mine, and I honestly thought she was batshit. You just have to understand that like they didn't have the capacity to understand where you were coming from. People can only meet you as far as they've met themselves. You can't be angry at them for that it took them a little bit longer. Some people are meant to never wake up in this lifetime. You can't get mad at them. Just keep spreading this message of spirituality and of love, and don't be delusional. Like, have some boundaries. Don't let people walk all over you with the love and light bullshit. Like, that's toxic, and we'll get into that in another episode. But you are allowed to be who you are while connecting to your higher self and being the best version of you. I actually, when I meditate and I see my higher self, she looks so gorgeous. She has these like shredded abs. I'm like, damn girl, I'm trying to get like you. So long story short, that is what a spiritual baddie is. If you resonated with anything in this episode, go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe if you are watching on YouTube. If you are on Spotify, make sure that you follow the show. If you guys have any questions or suggestions about anything that you would like me to talk about in long form in the future, please let me know in the comments. Next week's episode is going to be all about the divine femininity, the gender wars that have been going on, and living a soft life and what all of that means. Thank you guys so much again for listening and or watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.